Hi, so today we're going to be looking at LaTeX, and well, this is going to be the first video in a course in which we will be going from the basics to more advanced stuff. What I want to do today is to give you the basic tools so you can actually make your first PDF. And really with these tools you will be able to make almost any PDF you want, because the basic structure is just what I'm going to tell you. Further on we'll be making videos on more advanced stuff, but really you can start taking your notes, making projects and everything with just what I'm giving you today. If you have any doubts, just put it in the comments and I'll try to answer it. Well, just really quick for those who don't know what LaTeX is. LaTeX is a text editor in which you can make really well formatted PDF documents. Well, it's widely used in the scientific community, and many people use it for books, articles, papers, journals, projects, and everything, because really, seriously, it's really well formatted, and it's actually made for that. The only little issue is that you have to learn how to use it at first, but that's no big deal because we will be seeing it today. Also, I recommend it for non-scientific text too, because you can actually do many things with it. Not just PDFs, but also slides. You can even draw in it, like if it was some kind of GeoGebra tool. Well, there are many features to this, and we will be trying to learn as much as we can with this course. So, well, let's get on to it. So, first of all, to start learning LaTeX, and even if you are more advanced, I recommend, and many people do it, this text editor, which is Overleaf. In Overleaf, we will just be writing our text, and it will give us our PDF. So, you go on to Overleaf, and you go on to login if you have an account, but if you don't, just go on to register. And I'm going to do every step now. So, all you have to do to register is to put your email. So, I'm going to put mine, yes, this one, and just put any password you want. So, well, I think that's it, and just register. Wait for a second until Overleaf lets you in, and let's see. Okay, so what we have here is that, well, we have no project, so let's start creating our project. A blank project, let's name it Episode 1, Basics. Okay, and well, this is what you will often encounter, or really you will always encounter it when going into Overleaf. And just a really quick note, Overleaf is not the only text editor there is. In fact, I will be making more videos, in some other videos a bit more advanced, in which we use our young computer. We download a text editor which can be used without the internet. Of course, this has the little problem that it has to be used with internet, but that's not too much of an issue. If you prefer to not have to rely on internet, I will be making videos on how to make PDFs in your computer using LaTeX with some editors like Text Studio or so on. So let's just get started with it. As you notice, this screen is split into 3 parts. This is 1 part, this is 2, and this is 3. Of course, well, there's here, but this is not too important for us. So well, here we will not be looking at this too much. I will explain later what all of this is, but just notice that here is where we are, okay, in this main text, this, which is just this. So here is where we're going to be writing, and as you notice, it has some kind of programming-like structure, but don't get scared by it, it's really easy. So here is where we're going to be writing everything, and here we will be seeing what appears. Unlike Word or other text editors you might have been used to, you cannot write here. If I click, I cannot write, right? If I start writing, everything appears on this side. So this is really just for you to see and see if everything is working fine. And you can actually interact with it in some way, but well, that's not too... we're not actually going to be looking at this today, or maybe we will if I have some time. But just don't worry about it. In essence, this is all you need. Okay, just have to, here you will see your PDF. So by default, LaTeX will give you some template, but Overleaf will give you some template, but let's just start from scratch. So let's actually start learning how to use LaTeX to write a document. So first of all, what do we want? Well, first of all, always you have to write this document class. Notice that I'm using this backslash because every command in LaTeX needs to start with a backslash. So document class just tells LaTeX what kind of document you want to build. In our case, we'll be using an article, and really in most cases you can use articles. There are others like book, or I think one was Beamer, which is for presentations, but well, for now we will just go on to article. Now, this is just to specify some parameters, but we're not going to be using it today. We're going to be using the default parameters that LaTeX gives us. So this is the first thing you have to write. Now, we are going to be focusing on mathematical writing. So I'm going to give you, well, first of all, this is the first thing. Now we are going to go into the packages, and as I said, we're going to be focusing on mathematical notation. So we are going to include the mathematical packages. So basic math packages. But what is a package? Well, a package is some kind of book or cheat sheet for LaTeX to know what kind of symbols to write. For example, it's like if you write some package, as we will see now, and automatically LaTeX learns to write, I don't know, something like fractions or like Chinese characters, Japanese characters, or whatever. So this is the brain or the structure that LaTeX follows in order to give us everything. So first of all, we will be using this package, AMS font. Next, AMS math, and next, AMS sim. With these three packages, you will be able to write almost any mathematical symbol you want and almost any equation. Later on, we'll see that I'm going to add one more package, but these are the basic mathematical packages. If you include them in your preamble, I think you will have no problem writing any mathematical symbol. Now, what else? Maybe we want to include pictures in our PDF. So, for pictures, I usually use these two packages. Graphics with an S, and use package graphics with an X. The difference between these two is that one gives you, lets you use JPEG or GPG images, and the other one lets you use PNG images. But if you include them always, both of them, you will be able to put any pictures without any more problems. Also, it lets you put more things like tables and some other things, but we'll get into that in other videos. Now there's one more that we need to use, and that is float. What does float do? I'm just gonna even write in here. It makes pictures what it does really is just it takes the picture and puts it on top. So let me just put it like that. It puts pictures on top. So what does this mean? This means that unlike in Word, where you might have some troubles putting the picture somewhere because it will interfere with the text, this will put the pictures just on top of everything and be able to locate it exactly where you want. It's not that it's going to cover any text, it's just that it's a way for LaTeX to know how to treat the picture. Now, what else? Well, yes, there's something important, and that is the margins. If you notice here, by default, the margins are really big. This distance is really big, this distance is really big, all of this is just too big. So what I like to do is to use the following code for the margins. Modifying the margins. You don't even need to learn any of these codes. There, you can use the codes that I'm giving you here, but in the internet there's many guides and many codes in which will let you solve some problems or issues that you might encounter, or just format your PDF in a different way. So what I usually use is this one. First of all, I use the vmargin package. Let me use this in Spanish. Sorry. This is just to give LaTeX the tools to modify the margins. Now we set the paper to A4 for LaTeX to know that we are dealing with an A4 paper, and set margins. And as you see, here is the order. First is the left margin, 2.5 centimeters, top margin, text width, and so on. If you want a more in-depth video about this, I will also make it talking about margins and different ways to modify them. Okay, so now that we have actually done with the packages, okay, these are the basic packages you might want to include, let's get on with the title. So the title, let's say that it is episode, episode 1 basic PDF with LaTeX. And as you might notice, well, there's already a title here, but this was from the previous template that LaTeX gave us, and this title is just the title we gave it in our Overleaf account. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same as the title you give it. Okay, for example, here I'm using a different title than the one that I named it in my Overleaf account. So well, after a title, you usually might want to include the author. In this case, well, this is another, whenever you see this, it's just that you're trying to modify some default parameters, but we're not gonna need it now. So, well, author in this case, well, it's just gonna be me, Sandra, and lastly, the date. As you see, the date is also given by default, but well, let's just write it ourselves in order for us to see. So, May 2021. And now all of this is what's called the preamble. Okay, this is all the things you need to include for LaTeX to know what to do before you actually start writing your document. As you see, we have not written anything yet. There's some text here, but this is not from this code, it's from the previous code, as I said. So now we begin with our document. Oh, sorry, and I didn't explain before, but whenever I write this symbol, right, the percentage symbol and something here, LaTeX will not take into account. It's something that it's just notes for us. For example, I wrote this to separate things, so LaTeX will not have into account everything that starts with a percentage. And you might be wondering, well, how do I write a percentage? We'll see it later, but namely, to write a percentage by itself, you have to write it like this, with a backslash, for LaTeX to know that, right, this is not a symbol, this is just write the percentage. This is not a command, it's just a percentage symbol. So, well, let's just get started with it. Whenever we start a document, whenever we start writing, we need to write this, begin document. This structure, in which you have a begin something and end something, and we're gonna write something in between, is called an environment. And this environment starts with begin document and end document. This is the document environment. And here, between these two, is where all our text is going to be written. For example, if I click compile, which just means that, well, just read the code and give me a PDF, we'll see what we get. Okay, so first of all, we get, well, all of these that I have written. And, well, while we use the title and the author and everything, why is it not here? Well, we have given LaTeX the information to write the title and everything, but not the command to do it. So all we have told LaTeX to do up to now is write this nonsense. So if we want to write the title, we need to write make title. Now LaTeX will say, okay, now I'm writing the title. Okay, you see the title, the author, and the date. All of this is included here. So let me just do it like this. Title, author, and date. Now, what's next? Well, let's say that I want to create a section, okay? So I want my text to be organized by section. So I write a section here and say, for example, basic text commands, okay? So what do I have here? Okay, so it created some kind of section here, the first section. But notice that this is a bit messy, so this does not influence your PDF, but I prefer to leave some space between comments, okay? So make title, section, and well. So whatever we write here will appear on top of the section, and whatever we write here will appear below the section. So let's just see this example. As you see, this nonsense is written before the section, and this other nonsense is written below the section. So well. Now, so, well, this section is called basic text commands, so let's get started with basic text commands. So what are the text commands? Well, usually what I'm going to be showing here is how to make bold text, underline text, italics text, some maybe even changing the fonts, but no, I won't do it changing the fonts today because I want to get that into more depth. So, well, let's just say that This is some text for you to see how LaTeX works. LaTeX works. So let's see what LaTeX gives us, and well, this let me just zoom in a bit. This is some text for. Now, what if I want to make text bold? Well, instead of text, what I will write is this command, textbf, and inside text. So what I will get is that everything is usual, but this text is in bold letters. Likewise, for example, let's just say that U is going to be underlined. So I just write underline, and U. What do we get? We get that U is underlined. Likewise, let's see LaTeX in italics. In italics, we just write text in italics, and just write LaTeX. And you see, here we go. But you can also combine them. For example, now we will combine commands. For example, let's say that you want, well, let's just do it here. You want to make something that's bold and underlined. So let me just say, for example, textbf. Oh, sorry, I don't know what I wrote here. Textbf and underline. So first of all, make it bold and then underline. You can also do it the other way around, but it doesn't matter. Comments. What do we get? There we go. We get comments. And now you will notice that as I clicked enter here and left some space, that this has some indentation. And the reason for this is that if I am writing a really long text, like for example, let's write a bit more and see how this formatting works. This formatting works when we go to the next line. Let me just, you'll understand in a minute. So, okay, so this is what I wanted. Whenever you go into a different paragraph, by default, LaTeX will make an indentation to separate the paragraphs. So you see, this one is at the same height, or sorry, the same place that the previous line, but this is just because this is the default way of separating paragraphs. If you don't like this and you want our usual, make it everything just in the same line, you can, instead of just doing this, write 2 backslashes and 0.3 cm. So this I'm not, well, let's just do it. You will see the difference. Okay, so there's no indentation now, there's just some separation by 0.3 centimeters. If you want it closer, you can do it like this. As you see, it's not so far away. So to make it clearer with different paragraphs, let's just separate it with 0.3. Alright, what's next? Well, these are the basic comments, but let's say that you want to make a list. To make lists, we can use different commands. Well, in this case, we're not using commands, but environments. So, well, let's say that you want to do your shopping list, right? So, begin itemize. This is our environment. Begin, just like the previous one, but in this case, it's begin and end itemize, or itemize. The first thing that you will have to write is item. If you don't write an item here, this will not work. Okay, so just write item. The first item is gonna be bread. I don't know, just bread. Let's see what happens. Okay, as you see, well, here, notice again that I made a different paragraph without this command, and LaTeX just considered that it will have to be with an indentation. So our first item is bread. What will be our next item? Let's just say that we want some butter. We want to make our breakfast. So as you see, we put it under item and butter. Just say that we want some cereals. Again, we have this, and you can just keep on going and put as many as you want. But what if I don't like this way, these bullet points? Well, you can do it with numbers. Begin enumerate. Let's say that first we have, well, let's just do the same because I don't want to waste time thinking. So let's just copy and paste. So instead you can do it with numbers. Now, what else? Well, if you write, let me just copy this and see how you can modify this. So, well, you can just write, for example, A, B, and C, and so on, so on, so on. In this case, these these brackets tells that instead of 1 and so on, just write it like this. And notice that whenever I don't write the brackets, the enumerate pattern starts appearing. So this is not really too useful because if I have to be writing this every time, it's gonna be really tiring and not really useful. So we will see in other videos how to make this work more accurately, but for now just have this into account. So well, these are some basic stuff, some basic notions for you to write in LaTeX, but let me just give you one more. For example, let's say that I want to, well, not now. I think I'll make a separate video on that. I just wanted to show you how to change colors, but we'll need some more packages for that, and well, for now, just have this into account. We can make this kind of basic text like this. But yes, this is really simple, okay? Now let's actually get into more mathematical notation, and for that I am going to go into a different section. And mathematical notation. I don't want to get into too much detail about everything, just want to give you the basic tools, because even now the video is starting to get too long, because I have to explain what packages are, what basic commands are, but well, now is where the fun starts. So, well, first, well, before anything, let's say, well, we have our title here, but why does it start writing the sections on the same page? Maybe I want just a separate page for the title. In order to do that, I just go for, where does my section start? My section starts here, so let me separate this. And I will write clear page. This clear page just, this puts the text on the next page. This puts the text on the next page. So just notice the difference when I include this clear page. As you see, I include a clear page about here, so between the title and the section, well, there's a page difference, right? You just put it in the next page. Okay, so now let's get on to more mathematical notation. So, well, let's say that I want an equation inside a sentence. That is, I'm writing a sentence and I want to include an equation there. So, let's say, let's consider an equation inside a sentence. And I will separate it with a comma and say, well, to write an equation, you need to include the double dollar symbols. And inside you write your equation. Let's write the famous Euler identity, so e to the I theta. I'm just going to stop here and well, you'll see what this actually does. Well, we have written e as usual with a regular e on our keyboard, and this hat just tells us to raise something to an exponent. What's between these two brackets, these curly brackets, is what's inside the exponent. Now I is just our regular I for the imaginary unit, right, using our keyboard, and theta is just a backslash theta, okay? This is the command for the Greek letter theta. Now, well, this is equal to the cosine, just regular writing of theta, plus, let me just write it like this, plus I sine theta. And I want you to notice something. No matter how many spaces I make inside the equation, LaTeX will not show it. For example, I made a space between I and sine, and LaTeX did not show it. So in order to make this a bit better, right, because it just looks like some kind of weird I sine function, it should be I times sine, let me just write c dot. And what c dot does is that, well, it just puts a multiplication dot. Let me just close this without that, and well, let's give the equation more importance. So to do this, we just go on to the next line and write the following environment. begin equation. What equation I'm going to write? Well, let me just write the gamma function. So gamma of x, careful, if I wrote little g, what I will get is lowercase gamma. This gamma right here, let me just zoom in this gamma. But for the gamma function, we go on the uppercase gamma, right? The big gamma. So this is equal to the integral. Integral is just int with a backslash, you see? Well, we want limits, so our lower limit is going to be like this, and our upper limit is going to be like this. Our lower limit in this case is 0, and our upper one is infinity, which we write with infinity, backslash infinity. Now, well, we have our t raised to the something in brackets, which is in this case x minus 1, and e to the minus t. And now to write our dt, we will include this backslash to make some separation between our function and our differential. And well, what is this defined for? Well, this is defined for positive real numbers and can be extended to almost all complex numbers, except negative integers. But well, for now, let's just consider positive real numbers. So to do this, we usually write a comma and say for all x. And I'm going to write it like this. Must be the R. Just, I written a lot, but just look at this. I write a comma, and this symbol for all is just this backwards A, which means for all. X in is just this E symbol, right? It's a set notation for inside a set. And R is, well, the set of real numbers. But this is not actually true. We need the positive real numbers. So we will raise this to the positive. So, well, this is for all positive real numbers. And just to be really sure, I want to include I don't want to include the 0. So in order to do that, I will write backslash. And what this does is it includes a line like this. And with this, I mean, now I will not include the 0. Because 0 is not defined either. But of course, sorry, here, well, these brackets that are over here don't appear, right? Because they are they have a reserved space in LaTeX language. So we need to use backslash brackets, and also to write a backslash itself, we need to use backslash and write backslash, right? So this just means that, well, it belongs to real numbers, positive real numbers except 0. And notice this is extremely ugly. So in order to fix this, instead of writing a comma, I'm going to write a backslash comma. This will not write a comma, but just make some separation. Now, after this backslash comma, I will write a comma, and you'll see what happens. This comma is going to be a bit separated, okay, has been separated, but this is still too close. So what I will do to separate the comma and the for all is to use the command quad. Quad just separates something in an equation by some bit. For example, it's actually quite some separation, but I think it's sensible for this case. Now, what else? Derivatives, right? We've seen an integral, let's just see derivatives. So, and to do it, I'm going to use a different environment. And this environment is going to be equation with and star. What's the difference? Well, the difference is that in this equation we used no star, so LaTeX enumerated our equation. Now for for this one we will not be enumerating our equation, so we will write dv and our function y x and equals to y prime. But well, not really. It's just in order to do a derivative, we cannot just do this, or we can, but I'll explain later. We usually have to do frac. Frac just means fraction, with y in the numerator and x in the denominator. So we can treat the derivative as a fraction, even though it is not a fraction. So, okay, this is what you get. Well, okay, it's fine, but a better notation, right, and having to account the mathematical formalism that a derivative is not exactly a fraction, we can use this command. the derivative dv of y with respect to x. And let's just say that this is y prime of x. But this will not work with the packages you have before. So this one is the new package you need. You need the physics package. So let me just write it here. You have to add this package. So this package lets us use the dv and pdv, which we will see now, commands, and many others, and others. Okay, so let me just do that. So remember, physics package in order to get good looking derivatives. Oh, I don't know where I compiled, sorry. Okay, now, the thing with this is that you can actually include the order. If I say 4, what I get is this. Automatically LaTeX will put a 4 and a 4 here, and if I write hello, well, it will just take the hello derivative of y with respect to x. But let's just keep it in 4 and write here really ugly looking 4 prime. Okay. Now what else? Oh, sorry, I wrote h4. For partial derivatives, the notation will be the same. And just notice before that this was the first equation, 1. This has no number, so it's not number. And the next equation will be 2, right? This doesn't count as an equation for LaTeX, at least when it enumerates them. Okay, now, for partial derivative, we just do the same, but with PDV, partial derivative. The order is going to be second order, and just write y with respect to... No, let me just write f of xy with respect to x. And we can write this with xx, like this. Okay, so well, okay. Just notice that when you write a multiples of index, you cannot do it like this. You need to include the brackets. Otherwise, you will get that only the first term gets sub-indexed. So, like this. I'm sorry, this should be f, not y. Now, what else? You can actually do mixed partial derivatives, just like this one. For example, I want the partial derivative with respect to x and then with respect to y. What will I do? I will just say that I want the partial derivative of f with respect to x and then with respect to y. But this doesn't make sense if I don't include here that this is the second order partial derivative. And this is just f xy. So notice, actually, this should be first with respect to x here and then with respect to y here. Now, it makes sense. So first of all, we take derivative with respect to x and then with respect to y. You see that the notation is actually fine, right? Automatically, it's a second order derivative. LaTeX will consider this as being the rightmost variable and this one as the leftmost variable with respect to we are taking the derivative. With respect to which we are taking the derivative. I'm sorry, I got my head just okay. So what's next? Well, let's just because I love multivariable calculus, let's do some multiple integrals. So bring an equation and let me just write I is just the double integral. We just have to write two i's. Let's say that it's a surface integral. So over a surface S and f ds. Let me just use this spacing again. Okay, so this looks fine, but this might look better here under, right? So instead I will write limits. Limits on many operators just puts everything. Sorry, I don't know what I did. Just puts everything more nicer, okay? The limits just puts it nicer because otherwise the s will look like the lower limit of the first integral. So this is it. If I copy and paste it again, I will get that, I can write it with the three integrals, and here will come a volume. And really, I can write as many integrals as I want. Oh, well, it breaks up after 5, I think. Or 4. Okay, so 4 is the maximum you can do with these packages. but usually you will not need more than that. Well, we'll see that in other videos. Now, what about vectors? I hope the video is not taking too long, so I'm just gonna end with vectors. We'll keep on going next day. So let's say that I want to write Newton's law, F equals ma, but this is written in component form and I want it in vector form. So instead of a, I'm gonna write vec a, and instead of f, I'm gonna write vec f. What? I have to put it in brackets. Likewise, if I want to use the notation which makes bold symbols, I can use this one. So if instead of a vector, I want to use a bold symbol to denote vectors, I will use bold symbol, right? Really easy, equals to m bold symbol a. This is what we will get. Okay, f equals ma. And again, you can write just this c dot, this c dot multiplication if you want. And well, and also just really quick, the dot product between two vectors, you can write it like this. Let's say bold symbol a c dot bold symbol b. It's just the modulus of a, the modulus of b, and the cosine between them. And the cosine of the angle between them. So the thing is that we have used the same c dot for regular multiplication and dot product. So I don't like that, so what I usually do is to write, instead of c dot, I use bold symbol again and write c dot here. What this will do is that it will make the dot a bit thicker, right? As you see, it will make it a bit thicker so we can distinguish it from regular multiplication. So because the video is taking too long, I think I'm just gonna end it here, and I hope that, well, you could more or less see how LaTeX works and be able to make your first document. Really, all you need to have into account is the following. Use these packages if you want to write mathematical notation. Always put this first. In article mode, it's fine. This if you want to use pictures, which we have not looked at today, but we'll be looking in the next video. And this for your margins. I will explain this also in more depth in other videos. Well, the title, author and date, and just write everything between the begin document and the end document environment. Well, to make the title, just make title, and if you want to put something on a separate page, just use clear page. Sections are separated by sections, and actually if you want to make a subsection really quick, just you can do it like this. This is a subsection. Just really quickly, this is here, okay? This is a subsection. You can make subsections and so on. So well, yeah, I hope that you liked the video and that you learned, and well, see you in the next one.